Alright, well, I flipped the switch back on for the grid, and I had to remove my back feed cable. It's really just for an emergency, but I wanted to get an idea, like, what everything is kind of drawing, and so I probably could sit here and run for a couple of days if I didn't use the air conditioner, is what I'm thinking. Well, and that would be with no sun, too. I mean, like, so, there is enough power during the day to do everything that you want to do, but you wouldn't make it through the night if you're using air conditioning. So, but I think you could probably go pretty long with just the computers and the radio on. Um, so, but there's no point in doing it unless I actually have to. But what I'd like to do is have some other type of transfer switch that would allow me to be able to pull the grid from out here or even the house itself, feed the inverter directly, and then let the inverter feed the house or out here, because the inverter does 240 volts. So if you had a transfer switch, you could hook it up like you would a generator. But also, the other thing that the inverter is capable of doing is if the load exceeds what the inverter can supply, it will automatically switch over. It has a built-in transfer switch. It'll automatically switch over to grid power. So if you've attached grid power to the EG4, it'll switch over. And there's been a bunch of videos done on it where they've showed it to like handle quite a bit, and surges as big as 12,000 watts. Anyway, let's take a look and see what we got right now, because the computer's not on. We're at 52.9 volts, which is not really a full battery. And the inverter is actually always on. I don't rarely turn it off. There's a certain amount of idle consumption, probably 25 or 50 watts. But if you add that up in a 24-hour period, it gets to be a bit after a while. Anyway, so you can see over here. Hold on. So you get L1 and L2 for the load, L1 and L2 for the grid, and you can hook a generator to it. And then you have your battery breaker. And then you have, if you really want to turn the solar off, plus you can turn off the entire inverter. And then on the other side, you can actually just turn off just the inverting part. So, looks like I need to clean this thing out. Probably grab a vacuum and get after it. Looks kind of nasty. Anyway, I'll boot this thing back up. This computer boots pretty quick, usually. I really don't like having the rack mount here. Like, I really don't. But I don't know where else I would put a computer. So anyway, we're back to normal, and I don't know if we'll stream the Pacific Northwest net. I just kind of like, those guys are so wacky. I kind of remember why I didn't want to live in Seattle area anymore. It was just like so far liberal and just crazy, drugs everywhere, paraphernalia in the Walmart parking lots. Once they started shutting down all the 24-hour Walmarts in Washington and actually closing some of the stores, and this is long before 2020, I think I'm not sure when that happened in Everett, Washington, but There used to be Walmart on Evergreen Way. In fact, that used to be a pull-apart junkyard, and I pulled my very first transmission for an '86 Mustang that I had. I knew absolutely nothing about anything other than, like, I always took stuff apart as a kid. And I went to this junkyard and I found the transmission for my car because my car was a manual transmission, and I was driving across the 520 bridge, and the transmission just locked up, and something, I don't know what happened, but anyway, it was done. So I just went over there. I think I got there like when they opened, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and I was leaving there by like 11 or 12 with the transmission and a wheelbarrow. And let's see, by the end of the night, I had it in my car and I was driving. Yeah, and that was a pretty amazing feeling. It's too bad that junkyard got turned into a Walmart that ended up full of needles in the parking lot. So that's my Washington State pull-apart Walmart story. In a 4-cylinder Mustang transmission, which is it's kind of like the old S-Rod transmissions. It's a 4-speed with reverse up in the first position, I think. Kind of like a Volkswagen. And S-Rod was single rail overdrive. I used to have so much fun going to the junkyards and looking for parts, and I almost always had like 4 or 5 cars, man. I was like a junkyard kid, man. Now I'm just a junkyard ham radio guy, I guess. Anyway. So over here listening to 3913. I don't know who's on there. Haven't really heard any normal people on there in a long time, but I used to be on that frequency with N7IU and K6AFS and W0DGE and Greg. I can't remember his call sign, but it sounds like RTTY. And there used to be the crazy horse kicked me guy named Kenny with all the llama stories. And then Willie from the Wharfanet, KJ6JKA. I can almost hear W6WBJ, KJ6JKA. I'd like to check into the Wharfanet. I don't know how Will put up with that for so long, but so you got Will that used to be on there all the time, and Todd in Colorado. No, not Colorado. Yeah, maybe he was. No, Todd was in Montana. And then there was another Todd that I never heard back then. He was on there. And N6 or N7YN, the other Jim. And a lot of other people from Arizona were on there. And my friend Rick on the other side of the hill, and just a bunch of people. I think I'm hearing Wayne. And Wayne is in Wyoming or Montana. Boy, I can't remember. But there used to be a lot of really cool people on there. The problem was there was a whole bunch of people on the East Coast that I didn't really hear that were on there all the time. So, yeah, that's definitely Wayne. Well, anyway, just kicking back Sunday. The kids are going back to school, thank God, because, I mean, they're driving everybody nuts. Her more than me, but, like, you know, they really do need to go back to school.